I was up here, one of those officers up there. I was armed with a rifle that day, so I didn't want to go down in the crowd and potentially have it used or taken. Well, if these are the people that are going to be getting pardons, can you look at this and just say they deserve one? I don't see how.
But President-elect Donald Trump has indicated that he might do just that.
First day.
Yeah, I'm looking first day.
Issue these pardons.
These people have been there, how long is it, 3 or 4 years?
Okay.
Pardons are one of the president's greatest powers, but also biggest.
But dude, in what world does Liz Cheney go to jail and the federal government doesn't also send you to jail? Wait, what? What do you mean? First of all, I don't think Liz Cheney is going to jail. Okay, there's no serious like what is she going to jail for? They've not really mentioned what would be the reason for why she would be thrown in jail. I guess what the chatter is trying to say here, no. What the chatter is trying to say here is that, like, if someone is getting locked up, like Liz Cheney is getting locked up for no real discernible reason, then I am a larger enemy of the state than Liz Cheney in the eyes of the Republican Party. But I think that I have no motion in comparison to, like, these guys who are really tapped into mainstream media and DC circles. So for them, they do see Liz Cheney as a serious enemy or just a nuisance in general. Whereas I am a Twitch streamer and they don't really think about me at all. They don't know who I am, which is good. I want to keep it that way. Let's keep it that way. He didn't even send Hillary to jail. Crazy to think he would somehow be motivated to do that to Liz Cheney. Yeah. So just understand that there's a reason why I am a low-level offender. I do think. Do you think there's a serious threat of you getting arrested? No, I do not. I do not think that there's. I mean, only time will tell. But so far, no, I do not think that there is a serious threat of me getting arrested. I have not violated any laws. Not that that really matters, but we shall see. But I don't think so. I don't think that there is anything that I'm a Twitch streamer, guys. And there is not, it's easier to send goons after regular civilians. It's silly to think they will just go after Instagram influencers or YouTubers, etc. Yeah. Until President Rishi Torres is elected, yeah. And at that point, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm getting executed by firing squad.
Biggest political liabilities.
And that's what they are, as hostages. They've been treated terribly.
He created expectations, created a movement of people, created a mob that acted, and then walked away. I hope he doesn't walk away from these promises.
Here's what Trump would have to do to carry out those promises and what it means for the people involved in the January 6th attack.
So I still served at the Capitol for 3 years after the insurrection. I left to run for Congress in a fight to continue to hold Donald Trump accountable. When I was unsuccessful, I became a surrogate for first Joe Biden and then switching over to Kamala Harris. Well, I think that anybody who had anything to do with these incidents of that day need to be held accountable.
Of the nearly 1,600 January 6th defendants, all have been charged with some form of trespassing or disorderly conduct, and more than a third have been charged with crimes involving assaulting, resisting, or obstructing law enforcement.
What we went through that day wasn't normal, and we shouldn't normalize it.
Save your country!
A spokeswoman for Trump's transition team said in a statement to the Wall Street Journal that Trump will pardon Americans who were denied due process and unfairly prosecuted by the weaponized Department of Justice.
I know the system. The system's a very corrupt system.
She also said in a separate statement that pardons will happen on a...
It's always funny when these guys will talk about how, like, the criminal justice system is evil and corrupt and totally messed up. And I agree, except they say it's only corrupt and messed up for, like, upper middle class white people, jet ski dealership owners who happen to be pro Donald Trump, who also did violate, like, a bunch of laws. It's only corrupt against them, the people that are the most protected under our institutions, okay? It's hilarious. Yeah, it's so messed up. they're coming after our big beautiful auto dealership owners and their fail sons for the crime of being MAGA. It's the actual corruption within these institutions, or the actual evil within these institutions is very good. Very, very good. The norm should happen more frequently. Perhaps not even going hard enough on marginalized people. Then how do you explain the deep state indicting the greatest president of the United States? Exactly. That's right. If anyone's getting jailed for being an enemy of the state, is Trump. Even now, they're trying to throw him under the jail. Who? What do you mean? They're dropping everything at this point. At most, he's gonna get a slap on the wrist for like mismanagement and doing the hush money scheme where he lied to the New York authorities about where he was. Where the money was actually going to, and that's it. The person that obviously actually spent time in prison for that was his lawyer, Michael Cohen. Everything in this system is designed in a way where, like, yeah, your soldiers will go to jail. You will never go to jail.
On a case-by-case basis, but didn't give any details on who might receive them or when. A number of people accused in the attack are already lobbying the president-elect for pardons. One is Joseph Biggs, a leader of the far-right group the Proud Boys, which played a central role in the Capitol riot. He can be seen at the Capitol in footage from that day.
Hey, we're on the concrete.
These guys are real freaks, too. Like, it's crazy. Oh, my God. Some of these guys are real freaks. Like, look, I don't know about every single person that participated in January 6th. Like, there's 1,000 of them. I'm sure some of them are low-level offenders, and they probably do have a capacity to reoffend, if we're being real. But, like, some of these hogs are very bad, okay? Like, people that were really bad in their own localities, notorious. Biggs is one of those guys, right? Long rap sheet in general, even if there isn't priors. But Biggs does have priors as well, if I'm not mistaken. But also, they are responsible for a lot of instability and a lot of violence and a lot of demonstrations. Nancy is doing well. We're so cooked, dude. The gerontocracy. The gerontocracy will save us. Save us, Nancy.
The east side of the Capitol front steps.
Biggs was found guilty of seditious conspiracy, along with several other charges. Court records state that he and other group members helped recruit and lead a crowd that breached the Capitol. Biggs is currently serving a 17-year sentence.
Biggs, what you gotta say?
Look at that shirt. He says, "Registered communists, not firearms." Being this angry at communists has to be a mental illness in America. You know what I mean? Like, what valid communist movement even exists in the United States of America? Okay, like you're angry at shadows. Okay, where are the communists? Where are they in 2024, in 2023, in 2022, in 2021? Where are they? In his mind, he thinks Nancy Pelosi is a communist, obviously. So it's like they're ACP. Come on, guys, be serious.
Dear Mr. President,
His lawyer, Norm Pattis, sent Trump a letter a week after the election.
you are now in a position to close a painful chapter in American history. On behalf of Joe Biggs,
This is the exact type of attorney that I would expect to take on an important political a case such as this one can only be taken on by a lawyer that looks exactly like this.
I am urging you to do so by granting Mr. Biggs' request for a complete pardon for his actions that day. I've heard all sorts of hand-wringing about January 6th. Prosecutors, judges referring to it as an attack on the citadel of democracy. But January 6th wasn't an incendiary event. It was one afternoon's riot. There were some injuries. There was a little bit of property damage. There was the national pride. Our national pride was wounded, and the peaceful transition of power was imperiled for an hour or two. And for this, we're going to fill the prisons.
The prosecutions have necessarily focused on the actions of the individuals charged, not the collective harm done by the thousands of people who were simultaneously committing crimes that day.
The idea behind a pardon is that the criminal justice system sometimes gets it wrong and can be quite harsh, and there needs to be a fail-safe mechanism to ensure injustices are addressed.
Kim Whaley is a law professor who wrote a book on the history of pardon power. She says the modern pardon process usually works like this.
There is, within the Department of Justice, an office of the pardon attorney. Someone who is seeking a pardon or commutation fills out.
Look, deterrence does have a capacity to work if it is done against people who previously thought that they were infallible and devoid of any sort of scrutiny from the legal structures. And January 6th deterrence from the federal law enforcement agencies absolutely worked. That is why it eviscerated the mass mobilization that you saw under the Trump administration. And it's not just deterrence from law enforcement. Deterrence from popular mobilization of anti-fascist movements also is significant and also works as well. The greatest example I can give you under the Trump administration was Unite the Right Rally 1 versus Unite the Right Rally 2. The first Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville ended up with the death of Heather Heyer. Famously, a neo-Nazi traveled all the way, I believe, from Ohio to Charlottesville and drove into a crowd of anti-fascist counter-protesters against these Nazis, and he went to prison. But the real reason as to why Charlottesville 2 was marginal, was tiny, was minuscule, was because of the dedicated efforts of people taking matters into their own hands in terms of unmasking Nazis, in terms of engaging in mass mobilization against the growing Nazi movement. So that actually is the real reason why Unite the Right Rally 2 got very few protesters to go out, like very few Nazis to go out and just be like, yeah, we're still Nazis, we're still here. Okay? So that's real. Those are two real ways in which you can actually push back against these sorts of movements. What the F is this bozo? Would he also agree to letting 90% of criminals free? Stealing only takes a couple of minutes, so stealing deserves no jail time. Murder is only a little damage, so it generally takes no more than a minute, so they shouldn't be held accountable. He knows he's playing devil's advocate. I can't imagine a lawyer be so delusional. I mean, it depends. But anyway, my point is this. Okay? He's responding to the chatter is responding to the lawyer who is just like undermining the severity of this insurrection or whatever. But deterrence in this circumstance was very successful. Law enforcement deterrence in terms of like actual legal punishments that were dished out to people who previously thought that they would never, ever withstand legal scrutiny, which is precisely the reason why during January 6th, they were filming themselves, openly identifying themselves, saying their names. There was a famous case of the West Virginia state member of the state legislature from West Virginia, Derek Evans, openly on live stream saying, Derek Evans is in the Capitol. I repeat, Derek Evans is in the Capitol. Openly saying his name, referring to himself in the third person on camera. These people then turned around and gave interviews. The reason why they did that without masking themselves, without protecting their identity, is because what they thought was just. They thought their cause was just, partially because they were, egged on by Donald Trump and many other prominent members of the Republican Party into engaging in this act. And also, they are not used to getting any sort of real consequences from law enforcement. They're not. They collaborate with law enforcement. Okay? So when the reality doesn't match their expectations, all of a sudden they have to start really reconsidering their choices when they go, I don't know if I want to join this kind of uprising again because I might go to jail. And a lot of these people have a lot to lose as well. It's not like they're pushed into a corner. These are HVAC business owners. These are people, these are real POCs, okay? Or POPs, people of privilege, people of capital. POMs, people of means, okay? So in that same vein, I think Donald Trump openly saying he's going to pardon these people and claiming that these people are actually heroes will have the exact opposite effect. It will galvanize people like this to mobilize again. It will embolden them, okay? It will remind them that, no, the law enforcement agencies are on their side. And I fear that that is precisely what's going to happen. I fear that Donald Trump's actions, such as pardoning these people, is going to end up causing them to feel like they were martyrs and they did the right thing and that the president is on their side and that they will want to do it again. Perhaps this time with, more mobilization. Perhaps this time with, direct, with a more consequential, like something that they will do will be more consequential than even January 6th. Better hardware, better mobilization. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The form, it has a bunch of criteria that include acceptance of responsibility, for example. Those pardon attorneys sort through about 10,000 for every 4-year presidential term, make recommendations to the president, and the president can either accept or reject.
But presidents can bypass this process entirely, which also bypasses application guidelines, like one that states convicts are only eligible 5 years after the end of their sentence.
Those aren't constitutional requirements. Those are Justice Department requirements. And forgive me if I'm a little cynical about the Justice Department. I'm not going to the same fox who locked me up saying, can you open the chicken coop door?
While not all pardons that bypass the typical process are controversial, presidents from both sides of the aisle have issued controversial pardons this way, some that left a lasting mark on their presidencies.
Typically, presidents get in trouble when they don't follow any sort of Justice Department process.
Alex Conant is a Republican strategist who worked for Marco Rubio.
When a president uses a pardon to explicitly benefit a political donor or friend, something that your average citizen wouldn't be considered for, that rubs people the wrong way.
Trump issued a number of pardons this way during his first term.
Did the pardon of Sheriff Joseph Arpaio go through the pardon attorney office?
I don't believe it did.
And President Joe Biden recently issued a broad pardon of his son Hunter for tax evasion and lying about drug use. Biden had previously said,
"Have you ruled out a pardon for your son?"
Yes.
Nobody likes paying taxes, and you shouldn't get a pass if you're a president's son. And I think Biden's pardons help the J6 case.
I think the fact that Biden has so aggressively used his pardon powers in the final months of his presidency clearly makes it easier for Trump.
I disagree. I think they're trying to tie this back to Biden, but I think Trump was going to do this whether or not Biden pardoned Hunter. This is not a defense of Joe Biden, okay? Trump just does not care. And anyone that tries to make it seem like Trump cares about what the Democrats are doing is so silly. If anything, this is a great opportunity for him to say, oh, you guys are hypocritical for criticizing me for doing this. Sure. Like, it's just giving him more ammunition, but he was going to do this regardless. Okay? Anyone that thinks that Trump wasn't going to pardon these, like if Hunter Biden was not pardoned by Joe Biden, Do you really think Donald Trump was not going to pardon the January 6ers? Really? Because if you believe that, I got a bridge to sell you, okay? Ridiculous. He never cared and he never will care. He will use the Democratic Party's actions to message, certainly. How much? Yeah, nice bridge. Is it a nice bridge? Yes.
To similarly use the pardon powers as he assumes the presidency. If for no other reason, Republicans will be able to point back at what Biden did and to say Trump is no worse than Biden.
But for Trump, the potential ramifications of January 6th pardons are difficult to predict.
We've never had an event like January 6th, so I think pardoning the people that were part of it would be unprecedented by nature.
This is a groundbreaking concept of pardoning people who violently stormed the Capitol to try and wrest power from a legitimate government and hand it to the loser of an election.
A pardon kind of, this may not be the word, but it excuses that behavior, or it says it's okay. So what is to stop them from doing something like that again?
And it's unclear what kind of pushback Trump will receive within Washington.
I think members of Congress have a very different perspective on January 6th than Donald Trump because a lot of them were there. They remember what happened that day, and some of them are scarred by it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think the Republicans that were very upset that they were fearful for their lives very quickly have turned around and decided, no, these are our guys. We like them, actually. Sorry, we were wrong. I mean, look at Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley's a great example. He was running around like a headless chicken on January 6th. Ask him what he thinks about the J6ers now.
It. And so I don't think that they're going to be cheering Donald Trump's pardons, but
Wait, what the hell was this? What?
Scarred by it. And so I don't think that they're.
What is this? Did they have these like gas masks on because they were worried that they were going to do like a chemical attack or something? What? I don't remember seeing this photo at all. That's crazy. That's for CRBN attacks? It was because tear gas was used in the rotunda? No, the Capitol Police were going to tear gas the building. Yeah,
They did cheering
use
Donald Trump's pardons, but they also aren't in a position to fight it.
But those J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened.
One of the questions I have is whether there will be a blanket pardon, an amnesty pardon, or whether there will be selective pardons based on perceived loyalty.
My dad doesn't believe that 4 cops off themselves after J6 because of the trauma. I mean, that part is like, I get why you wouldn't believe that. That's like I don't know what he thinks happened instead. Does he think that the government killed them or something? Because that's kind of funny. The government went in and assassinated these cops to make an argument, to make it seem like it was more consequential. Why would cops ever kill themselves? They do. They do all the time. What do you mean?
Say it will be a large portion of them. You know, they did and it'll be very early on.
Joe Biggs risked his life for this country and was injured, awarded a Purple Heart, and he lost his pension for participating in a riot. That's just wrong.
I mean, this has been 4 years consuming of my life. I wish I was still working at the U.S. Capitol. I wish I was still there, and we didn't have to live that ugly day that happened. But now it is a part of our history. It's not going away. I think it's important to not let people rewrite what did and did not happen that day.
The next chapter will be written when Donald Trump takes the oath of office again and decides which January 6th participants will benefit from the president's extraordinary power.
Whenever you pardon somebody who has been convicted of hurting law enforcement, whether it's the January 6th case or anything else, I think that is going to be politically more difficult to explain.
Wait, hold on. So, but getting back to it, like I said, I highly urge you guys to read the ProPublica article that we were talking about beforehand about the guy who just like randomly chose to infiltrate the 3%ers and even rose up the ranks of the 3%ers